I have a problem again. I have a problem. My problem just continues to be more of a problem. Okay, it's not a problem because it's cheap. Anyways, I decided to go with a little bit of another budget IEM, and yeah, let's get into it. Yeah. I heard about this IEM from the fucking god, the man with the plan, Mr. Critical, and that's the Truthear HOLA. Is it the HOLA? Because it's confusing. Because if you look at it, it says HOLA, and then underneath it says Halo. So I'm confused. But anyways, this is another budget IEM, kind of akin to the Moondrop Shoe. I mean, similar in sound, but not necessarily the same in sound. So I guess let's start with the sound. The Truthear HOLA is, I guess it's more of like a starts up at the base and has a V shape at the end, which you kind of see with almost anything. Like you see with the Moondrop Blessing and everything like that. But with this, it's not as defined as the Moondrop Blessing, the Blessing 2 Dusk Edition at least, because you see that kind of V shape in like the Harmon curve, like you would kind of notice with almost any relatively popular IEM, just because I mean the Harmon curve is something that, you know, it's there because people like to hear that kind of sound. So with this, it definitely has a little bit of a boost in the low end, and it has that V shape at the high end. It sounds relatively similar to the Moondrop Shoe, but the difference is mainly the low end. This one has a little bit more bass, in my personal opinion. Everybody's ears are different, so if it doesn't sound exactly like that, that's not my fault. That's my shitty ears that have gone to way too many shows throughout my entire life, and I decided to listen to things really, really loud. So it sounds good to me. But anyways, these IEMs have a different feature from the Chews. So exactly the same. It's about what, like $18, and I think the Moondrop Chews are $18 at the moment right now. The one big differentiator between the Moondrop Chews and these is the cable. The cable and how they actually look. The cable is replaceable as compared to the Moondrop Chews. The Moondrop Chews have an attached cable that you can't really mess around with. These are on a 2-pin coiled cable. So the cable's kind of plasticky feeling. I'm not entirely sure like what the actual shielding is, but it has like that quintessential like rougher on the ears, like stiff shielding that kind of gives the ear the actual what the fuck is it called? It gives the ear the mold or the shape that you need to be able to put that on there. And because of that, the fact that it has a replaceable cable, it has a replaceable two pin, you're able to kind of customize it a little bit more than you would be able to with the Moondrop Shoes. Moondrop Shoes are fantastic starting. This sounds great. These give them a run for their money, literally, because of the same price, and they actually have a little bit more of an appeal with the replaceable cable. The thing with these, the Halos, the Olas, the Truthiers, is it's kind of reminiscent of, I guess, the Moondrop Blessing 2s, the Dusks, because it is using another 3D printed way of doing that. So it's a 3D print. It's not resin, but it's actually a relatively solid material. I was convinced it was just like some sort of weird aluminum that had like a weird coating on it, because when I picked it up out of the mail, because it's cold up here, it was cold. And I was just like, oh, this is like an aluminum. That's actually kind of cool. It's not. It's 3D printed. And I'm pretty sure that so the plates on it, I'm pretty sure those are like brushed aluminum. They have like a nice little design on it. It's kind of cool. And I can't deny the fact that I like it. I was really surprised with how light these were. So I used these for like a solid day before I was able to do most of this little review. These are light, and the tips that they come with are surprisingly not terrible. The amount of time that I would have like the Blessing 2 Dusks in my ear, I would have really fatigued ear canals. I had these in for like 3 hours and nothing. There was nothing like weighing down on my ears. The part that goes into your ear canal was not too big. And it definitely made a solid seal. With this, I will say I was surprised. So I guess let's let's go to what I decided to put into everything, because I made sure that I have a little bit of knowledge and understanding about like what actually these are. So it's an 11 inch or an 11 no, it's an 11 millimeter dynamic driver. It is in a PU suspension, whatever the hell that means, composite diaphragm. It is a 28 ohm impedance with a 1 kilohertz. Sensitivity is 120 decibels at 1 kilohertz. The THD is 0.1%, whatever the fuck that is. Frequency response is 8 to 48 kilohertz. I guess that is, but the effective frequency response is 20 to 20 kilohertz, which is normal. So I went through and I did what I did with the other ones. I did like metal, acoustic, and everything like that. So this is what I kind of noticed with these. So while with the chews are more focused on the mid and the high ends, and it brings a little bit of focus in the low end, especially with the bass. While the bass is more noticeable, it's not too obtrusive, especially with someone with lower, more guttural vocals. By the way, this is for metal. Drums aren't as snappy, but they do sound really nice because there's a nice fade to it. There's a nice fade from whenever like a double bass hits into whenever it dissipates, which I thought was really nice. Classical. So like with metal, you can really hear the bassiness of it, especially with stuff like the cello or some of the tones from the piano. But you can definitely hear it doesn't bog down to like the higher end stuff like you would hear with the violin or like the higher notes on it. It doesn't pierce your ears, you know. So with the mids, it sounds decent. It's not really exaggerated in the mid, so it's just kind of like a neutral mid, in my opinion. But it was a nice like listening experience for classical. So hip hop, you can really feel a lot of the bass. Like I said, this is a very low end kind of, well, not low end. It's focuses a lot on the low end because it has that bass boost. I think it was like at 105. Is like 105 hertz. It has a bass boost. Things like the hi-hat and everything like that, they're really punchy and they sound good. Yeah. Acoustic. The blending of the guitar into some of the songs is really nice because it doesn't have that high speed that you would hear from a planar. So a lot of it I guess it just blends in with each other and it sounds really nice. And it sounds decent with the higher end vocals too, because I listened to that same song, which is The Girl. And because of that, I got like an A to B comparison between like the Moondrop Shoes and the Truthear HOLAs. But it doesn't sound too shrill. It kind of, because of that bass focus, it gives it like more of a warm sound instead of a shrill sound, like that you would hear with somebody that has a higher voice. Content consumption is just like listening to Twitch, listening to YouTube, listening to almost fucking anything. It wasn't too bad. Like I said, it wasn't fatiguing, so being able to use this for multiple hours was really nice. And because of like how most of compression is, like you're not going to really hear a difference between most of the sounds from like either of the IEMs. So this actually was just really nice. It was really nice to hear how people sound with like a decent pair of IEMs that you can get for a budget, you know? So, okay. So this comes with like a little pouch, kind of like you would see with the Moondrop Tubes, but the Moondrop Chew is that reminded me of paper. I didn't particularly like it. It wasn't my favorite material, and I wasn't really happy about feeling it at all ever. And because of that, I kind of just threw those off at the side, and I don't use those. I literally just fold them up and put them in my backpack whenever I leave work. But it feels a little bit nice. It feels nicer. It feels nicer because it's not weird, you know? So they both come with tips. These aren't actually coming with the tips that you would get with the Moondrop Chews. Moondrop Chews, that was one of the biggest appeals, was actually getting those spring tips. But I will say these aren't that bad. They kind of feel, it's not nylon, whatever, it's like whatever it is, but it doesn't feel bad. It feels decent, and you do get two different types. So I guess let's kind of get to the conclusion of this. I really like these. I really like these because, again, they are budget. They are really inexpensive. Like, you can take in if there is some sort of recycling place, you can take in like a bag of cans and almost be able to afford half of it. I mean, it also just depends on how much your recycling is wherever you live or whatever. But you can ask somebody for a couple bucks. You can ask like 4 people for a couple bucks and be able to afford these. It's nice. The fact that it has a removable 2-pin is really, really key on whether or not it's really key on whether or not I would suggest these, mainly just because a lot of the times you have these budget IEMs and something happens to them, whether it be your cat chewed on them, this never happened to me, or you have a child that grabs them and just rips them apart. The key point of these ones is you're able to replace that wire that you're using and still use the IEMs because of that replaceable 2-pin. And personally, I would replace the cable. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. But there are plenty of really decent cables that you can grab that are going to basically feel a little bit better than these. So I guess do I suggest these over the Moondrop chews? Right now, kind of yes. I do enjoy the chews. I still listen to the chews, and the chews come with those perfect tips. Take that out of context, please. But they come with these perfect tips that you're able to, honestly, that's most of the cost of the Moondrop chews. The additional features, the construction that you have with these, compared to the metal construction of the chews, you're getting a little bit more for your money with these, with a relatively similar sound style. I guess it's really just like, look at whatever you have, like look at all the resources you're able to do, listen to a couple different reviewers. I'm not an expert when it comes to this. I'm still relatively new, but if you like these, I'm going to put these in the I'm going to put a link for these in the description below, and also a link for the Moondrop shoes and the blessings and everything like that. Anything I've referenced in here, I'm going to put a little a link for that anyway. Whatever. But anyways, I hope you guys had fun listening to this, because apparently I'm just I have a problem, and I satiate that problem with spending money on things I don't need, like extra IEMs. I have enough. I'm done. I'm not done. This is going... No, I'm not done. Oh, I'm not done. Anyways, love you guys. I hope you have a great weekend, week, day, month, day. I don't know whatever time you're watching this at. I hope it's great. And on that note, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. Bye.